So this morning, I'm just going to invite you to open a Bible, if you have one, to John chapter 9. It's going to be up on the screen. We're going to look at a phenomenal story. I think it's one of the funniest stories in the whole New Testament. And I think this might have been a story that Jesus and the 12, maybe, they kind of lived together, traveled together and all this stuff. I think they maybe sat around the campfire with this one and kind of, if they wanted a good laugh, they'd kind of bring this one up. You remember when that one happened? Kind of thing, because this is a hilarious, absurd story. But it illustrates what happens when somebody chooses the unexplainable, when they choose to be stuck, when they say, I'm never going to do anything with this undeniable truth that's going on before me. Even though it's undeniable, I'm going to keep believing the way I want to believe. I'm going to keep doing the same worldview. I'm going to keep having the same questions. I'm going to keep having the same kinds of places where I get stuck with what God's doing, and I will not change. And it's kind of absurd, because you can ask all the questions, you can have all the objections, but at some point, you have to decide what you're going to do with the undeniable truth that's in front of you. And so John chapter 9, and we'll just go through the story and I'll make some comments as we go. We start off in John chapter 9, verse 1. And Jesus, as he's going along, sees a man who was blind from birth. And sure enough, the 12 that are traveling with him, you know what they say? They say, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents? Now, you have to understand they had some wrong assumptions, right? And so they had an assumption that says this: if there's a physical malady, there has to be a spiritual root. That there's a formula that is a human plus sin equals physical stuff. Blindness, hearing loss, disease, anything physical that was a negative thing came as its root sin. And so they had bad assumptions. That's the way some of us are this morning, is that we come into this place and we have some bad assumptions, whether it's something that your parents taught you or something you've experienced. Even though you don't understand what the biblical truth is, you've experienced certain things that influence the way you view God, right? And so these guys had some bad, wrong assumptions. And so Jesus jumps in, verse 3, and he says this. He says, neither this man nor his parents sinned. In other words, okay, here's what's really going on. But this has happened so that the works of God might be displayed in this man's life. In other words, God is not just about A plus B equals C and your wrong assumptions. No. Jesus was sent here to show people who God is, to clarify truth, and to show people what God looks like and what the truth is. And so he says, I got to clarify this. No, you've had some wrong assumptions, and I want you to understand is that there's a bigger, higher purpose. So are you telling me, Brian, that this man was born blind so that God would make a point? Yeah. Are you telling me that this guy is born blind because God wants to make a statement? Uh-huh. And his statement is that there's something bigger than you and there's something bigger than me, and it's called God and his name and his renown and his glory.